F1 the movie, not the sport, is out in theaters, and I thought you might want to hear people who don't watch the sport review the film. Most people are really loving this movie. It was filmed entirely in IMAX. The cars go vroom, vroom. But I didn't love it. I didn't really like it. I want to talk about why very briefly. I don't want to bore you guys. I've got my resident guy in the chair, Steve, with me.
Hello, and I'm Steve. And
I thought that would be interesting. You know, just throw an extra dynamic here on the YouTube. F1 was co-written and directed by Joseph Kosinski, who made Top Gun Maverick, very successful. So they thought, hey, let's do Top Gun Maverick, but with cars. It worked with planes. It can work with cars, but does it work? That's the question I ask you, Steve. Does it work? I have a very particular problem with this film that I don't think anyone agrees with. And that's okay. I'm ready to put it out here. I'm getting cooked on Letterboxd. And it's going better on TikTok. This opinion I have.
I'm so excited to hear what this opinion is.
It's not, you already know it because I shared it a little bit with you. I do think it's a hot take-ish, but I think I'm right. I think the history books will remember me as the victor. The cars are cool. The cameras are great. The cinematography is wonderful. This is a fun time in a theater. The score was composed by Hans Zimmer. This is good stuff. But if you're somebody who only goes to the movie theater a couple of times a year, like, oh, this is fun, right? Like, this is the kind of big spectacle thing you want to see. You want to see Brad Pitt driving a race car through fireworks. But I think something very important is missing from this film. I'm somebody who loves sports movies. I've said many times, even though I don't watch sports. And I think that core element that drives me to those movies, the triumph, the elation of the underdog finally achieving victory, is really missing from this movie because you don't care about the characters. And I think Brad Pitt was not the person to carry this vehicle, which I think is the crazy thing to say that I'm going to say.
He drives the vehicle. He doesn't carry it.
Do you like what I did there?
I did.
I wasn't even going to call attention to it. I was going to let it be a thing.
No, I'm here to call things out like that.
But I'm pleased. I've said this over the last few days in a couple public forums, and I think the script just kind of sucks. And that I'm blaming a lot of the script sucking on Brad Pitt's performance. But I also think Brad Pitt was not, I still stick to my guns on that. I don't think Brad Pitt was the person to carry this film.
Who would you suggest be that person? Like, who would be an alternate choice?
I'm so glad you asked. The obvious answer and the heaviest weight that I can throw into this convo, see my vision here, is Matthew McConaughey. Mr. All right himself. That's right. Can you see what I'm going with there, or am I just crazy?
No, I can absolutely see Matthew McConaughey stepping behind the wheel of an F1 car for sure.
Yeah, I think that he has been, unbeknownst to him or anyone else, going method for this particular role for the last 30 years. They were like, we need this cocksure cowboy who has an element of extreme sadness and regret about him. And I'm like, that's Matthew McConaughey. What are you doing here? So that's one suggestion. I also think if you had cast Robert Downey Jr.,
that's an interesting choice.
There would have been a meta element. What's more meta for Sonny Hayes, the main character of this film, than Robert Downey Jr.'s career? Somebody who kind of screwed everything up and then is coming back in a big, big way to bring it home. That's RDJ. And like, I think a lot of the sarcasm and bravado of this role would have been brought through more by Robert Downey Jr. Or if you wanted to lean into something more dramatic and add some gravitas to it, I think you could have used Ethan Hawke. That's one of the people push back on that a lot when I say this, but I think Ethan Hawke would have been a better choice. Maybe not for box office, but definitely for what the role needed. And then some obvious ones, Matt Damon.
Oh, interesting. Matty D.
Oh, is it interesting?
I think it's interesting.
I thought it was obvious.
I honestly wouldn't have pegged Matt Damon for that.
Really? I would peg Matt Damon.
I mean, I would too.
Okay. And here's another obvious one, because Christian Bale could play the shark from Jaws, as Kevin Smith would say. Christian Bale, though he would have made the movie weird.
That would have been a much more intense movie, I think.
Yeah. You'd have been like, well, I don't like to cry right now. Why am I crying?
You're going to
try.
Well, he's not going to use he can't use his English accent.
It's going to slip out.
You think so? He's really good at it.
He is really good.
If anything, Batman would slip out when he's like pretending he doesn't know how to start the car during that one scene. Where's the trigger?
Where's Pierce?
I think that the car stuff works really well. I think it's really interesting when the engines go vroom vroom, and the fact that they put the cameras and they did a lot of really practical driving and stunts. Kosinski's really good at that. He's well known for that. That stuff works. But the reason that you care in a sports movie like this is the relationship dynamics between the characters. And a lot of people have talked ad nauseum about how shitty the script is and how it's just beat for beat sports movie cliches and tropes, you know? And in fact, I was rolling my eyes every time somebody ended up in a hospital in this movie.
It happens more often than you'd think.
Because they do the same cliche beat. Not only do they do it, but they do it multiple times. Like, oh, here's Dark Night of the Soul. And then, oh, we got to have, you know, and it's to the point where it's almost exhausting. And I was kind of checking my watch metaphorically. All of that is true, but I think if you had somebody with just a different screen dynamic than Brad Pitt, because I think Kerry Condon's doing a great job. I think Damson Idris is doing a great job. I think Javier Bardem is doing what he needs to be doing. But I
love Javier in this movie.
He's good.
I think he has more chemistry with Brad Pitt than anyone else. Like, I kind of wanted them to kiss.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, no one has better chemistry with Brad Pitt than the car. And I think that that's the script's fault largely, but it's also Brad Pitt's fault. Like, there's a couple of scenes, I can't say specifically without spoilers, but it's doing a thing and you know what it's doing. It's hitting all of the special moments that it's supposed to hit, but they're not quite working. I was just acutely aware of what they were trying to do and the fact that it wasn't working. And then I was excited when they were behind the wheel of the car again. It's just so grating how often they fall into this, put your phones down, kids these days. And then the Damson Idris is like, old man, you don't get it. You don't even have an Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what a filter is. You know, you're still doing the Macarena.
It's all noise, kid.
He's still doing the Macarena.
I'm still worried about Jessica in the well.
That's right. I love how you brought the Jessica in the well reference to date again.
Do people still get that joke?
I don't know. We went through a whole thing about it. I bet they do. I just wasn't there for that, right? Yeah, I just really feel like this was a huge missed opportunity. It's nothing as exhilarating as Top Gun Maverick, and it's certainly no Ford v Ferrari. In fact, people are cooking me for this, but I think even Gran Turismo, last year's movie, that's the closest thing to what F1 is, I think. And even that was better. I felt more emotionally impacted by the kid who grew up playing a PlayStation game that finally got to race for a living than I did this movie. I don't watch. Do you watch F1 at all, Steve?
No.
Do you have any idea?
No, I had no idea.
I did think it was kind of interesting, like, watching it as a sport. So it's not just Mario Kart. You don't just want to be first. You can't just throw a shell at them. There's tactics to this. So when you go to the pit stop and what kind of tires you put on, and the fact that he's kind of like, it's a team sport. So he's lagging behind in the pit and then coming out to kind of block off the Ferrari team. All of that stuff, his like kind of fighting dirty stuff, was really interesting.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the movie, was when they sort of played with the idea of they're underdogs, but they're technically kind of cheating, but it's fun to watch. That was the best part for me.
They're playing the game, right? Like, it's all within the rules. It's maybe not an honorable victory, but they're also... The games are, the chips are already stacked against them, so they're doing what they can to play, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we've heard the script was mutilated by different forces. The movie, I guess, would have been over 3 hours long because it's already still pretty long. So I understand why they felt like they had to cut something, but maybe I would have gladly watched a longer version of this that worked better emotionally. Because again, during the big victorious moments, I just don't care because I'm not invested in these characters at all. They're just a bundle of cliches. And even though the action sequences and the driving sequences are spectacular, it's not enough for me to wholly recommend this movie. But I am aware most people really love this movie. It seems to be, by and large, getting rave reviews from general audiences. Everybody that I follow and look to kind of edify my film going experience is also middle of the road on this movie at best. But it looks like general audiences are mostly having a blast with this film. And I know F1 is a globally popular sport. It's a phenom that I'm just not privy to. It's kind of like soccer in that way.
No, I really appreciated how this movie sort of took someone like myself who knows nothing about Formula One racing and really, in a way, taught me the ins and outs and the strategy and everything about like warm tires. Like, they kind of beat you over the head with that concept, but I appreciate it because like I didn't know anything about this sport at all. So I appreciated that going into it.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on that aspect of the movie because they have this like disembodied announcer frequently over explaining stuff for people who aren't familiar with the sport to be caught up on the movie.
Who only talks about Sonny Hayes.
Yes. It's funny because you can't feel like things are being too dumbed down when they're explaining things that I actually do need to know. But I still felt that way. I don't know why. I just felt like that was another flaw in the script itself. But everybody was trying really hard to have some kind of chemistry with Sonny Hayes on screen. It just wasn't happening. I didn't believe the burgeoning friendship between Damson Idris and Brad Pitt. I didn't believe the romance between he and Carrie Condon. I kind of bought the friendship with him and Javier Bardem, but not really. None of it works except for the cars going vroom, vroom. And that may be all you need, but I disagree if it's something 2.5 hours long and if it's asking me to feel emotional and excited for this victory, which sucks because the core concept I think is interesting. The idea of a man pushing 60 who's made many, many mistakes, filled with regret that has ruled his life ever since. And the idea of him being like this super superstitious guy, gambling addict, like that's so Matthew McConaughey, like the deal in the cards. You know what I mean? Like it's just not, I just didn't buy it with him. And everybody disagrees with me. I've never said that before. I've never watched a movie that has Brad Pitt in it and thought that should have been someone else. I legitimately have never thought that until this movie. This was built for McConaughey. As soon as he is, he's like this NASCAR guy driving F1s and you know what I mean? Like it's just.
You got to tell Pierce to get into P3.
Here's what you got to do, man. You got to drive that car. That car drives you. That car drives you. I don't know why I'm doing Bill Clinton.
Like my daddy used to say, slow is good and slow is fast.
Yeah. That's whatever that was. That whole expression would have worked better with him. Or Bill Clinton could have done this role. That would have been interesting.
Oh, no.
I did not drive that car. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful to you, but this movie's going to make a bunch of money. The sport's really popular. Now that Squid Game's out, I don't know how packed the theaters will be, but it had a good preview number. And again, most of the buzz that I've seen online from audiences have been like, oh, wow, that was really cool. The stuff that Joseph Kosinski's doing visually, he's always really impressive. So I actually was pretty excited for this movie, and it's not going to be anywhere near my best or favorite of the year lists at all. But I hope that you love it. I know everybody likes the cars and stuff. It is funny to me because the whole like emotional linchpin of this movie is basically Talladega Nights shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
Because when Pierce and Hayes learn to shake and bake is when their team starts to win.
Yeah.
It's all of the same beats as Talladega Nights.
These colors don't run, Sonny Hayes.
If you don't chew big red, then you. If you like what we do even a little bit, you should check out our podcast streaming things. It's available anywhere you can get podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe here to the Movies Are Therapy channel. We're going to be dropping these reviews and some movie news and stuff every week, at least twice a week. I'm also, I make videos on Instagram and TikTok if you're familiar with those channels. I appreciate you for watching. I hope you love the movie. Have a good day.